So global sporting events are a whole different ballgame, both literally and figuratively. It requires, one, advanced planning, and I think when you're dealing with regular campaigns, you're of course competing with any other brand that's looking to be relevant at a particular time. However, when you look at something like the World Cup, where you have an opportunity to not just be in front of those attending the event itself, but the entire world that is looking on, you have many brands that are looking to do the same. So with that being said, media becomes more scarce, as well as your ability to break through when there's so much media out there in the world. So I think thinking about how you're gonna resonate with an audience, you're gonna break through your creative strategies, thinking about boldness in what you have to say and what you stand for. Those are all elements, as well as making sure that in many cases you're actually getting that inventory reserved versus thinking about, in real time, figuring out how you can pop up.
Lucy, I'd like to talk about the difference between reaching fans and earning the right to be part of that fandom. In particular, how do brands actually earn that right versus just buying exposure? How does that happen?
So when you think about some of these larger events like the World Cup, even looking at the most recent example of the Knicks winning and the love that poured out from the community in New York, when you're thinking about being part of this fandom, you are dealing with extremely passionate fans that are not just looking for you to be a logo that is showing up, but actually to engage and enhance an experience. So if you are a brand that is looking to cut through the noise and actually earn the love of fans, you have to think about how to pull them in through experiences that could be live on the ground, interspersing that with a lot of times activations that are showing up in real life, which out of home plays a very large part in, along with social and some of your more interactive display campaigns, etc.
Lucy, I think of out-of-home advertising as kind of always being a part of professional sports. You think of stadiums surrounded by billboards, but OAH's role in sports seems to be expanding, right? Why is that happening, and where do you see OAH adding the most value?
So out-of-home is something that has always been a part of the sporting world. You think about the stadium itself, it is a literal canvas for both the sports, think about it as the information of the game to show up, but it's also something where you have pouring rights from the likes of Pepsi and Coca-Cola that are thinking about how they're engaging with fans on the field and off. I think out of home is becoming a much bigger part because of where those placements are living. It is allowing for not just reaching people at the game, but on the way, at home, as well as how you can tell a story that is going to allow for when you're actually at the game itself, it brings everything to life. And so often we're seeing advertising that is including players, we're seeing much more humor being infused, but we're also seeing the fans themselves often showing up in the ads themselves. So I think overall the digitization of out of home is not only making sure that the advertising that is being shown is more relevant, but it allows for you to be nimble and change the information to provide information which could be countdowns to the games, live scoring. We're even seeing games being streamed on out of home, on the streets as well as the stadium, which is really allowing for communities to engage in a bigger way.
Lucy, it's often seemed that the use of a celebrity athlete or a high-profile creator is a shortcut to attention and engagement, for brand advertising. So, how do brands determine whether those individuals are actually additive to the fan experience versus simply extending campaign reach?
So, I think it is easy to buy reach, but in order for it to be effective, you really need to think about how including perhaps a celebrity or an influencer into that campaign is going to feel either that they are placed there for a reason or that they're able to create some sort of memorable experience. So one, we're seeing more and more that creators, influencers, athletes, and celebrities have some sort of actual tie to a brand. They have shown through their own maybe life on social or in the physical world that some of their passions align with either the sport or a brand that is showing up around sport. And so when they're infusing them into those advertisements themselves, it doesn't just feel like a product placement. It actually feels like they were meant to be there and that their passions align with why they're showing up in that way.
Lucy, looking at sponsorship and brand integration in sports, which approaches resonate with audiences and which ones fall flat? Or does it depend on the specific story in the campaign?
So in order to think about which campaigns around sport are the most effective versus those that are falling flat, what we're seeing more and more is the storytelling component. I think when we look at how documentaries in general have changed to allow for us not just to love a sport, but to love individual athletes and thinking about their routines, the products that they use in their daily life, that is real and not just kind of made up for the sake of an ad. I think those are the types of storylines that are being taken from real life and then coming on to these screens that sit kind of as part of the overall fabric of communities. So when we think about strategies, a lot of that is community-based. How are they thinking about reaching a larger community, whether that is by giveaways, is there some sort of sweepstakes element, is there a reason to pay attention, or is it that this brand seems to be behind a team or a person that you love, where it actually is encouraging you to want to either test out something that maybe wasn't initially on your wish list or your shopping list, and it is something that is top of mind, and you are actually believing in what they have to say around that particular product.